The unemployment rate rose by 3.8%. Now watch this, y'all. Believe it or not, a rising unemployment rate is actually good for the economy. It's an oxymoron, right? It's kind of like saying, I want to use hot ice. It doesn't make sense, but it's the truth. You feel me? Here's how that goes. I need y'all to pay attention to this one. According to the Fed, the more people without a job means the less money in circulation, right? The less money in circulation means inflation can level off. I gotta make sure I say this right, because I want us to understand why they want this to happen. So the more people we have laid off, the less people will spend money. The less people that spend money, the more money they can take out of the economy. Does that make sense? The more money out the economy, the more inflation can come down. Why does that make sense? We are now in an economy that is living off of the residue of the pandemic. Trap, why do we say the residue of the pandemic? Okay, during the pandemic, we printed $7 trillion in the economy. So because we put $7 trillion in the economy, that then put a whole bunch of new money in the economy. That money wasn't accounted for, it came out of thin air. So because that money came out of thin air, it causes the price of everything to do what? Go up. Why did everything go up? Because there was new money. Because there was new money, what happened? The money that you already had lost value. Oh, we getting somewhere. So, because the new money in the economy, it did what's called, it diluted the money that was already in the economy, meaning the money that you had in the bank lost value. Because in 2019, if something cost $100, in 2023, that same thing now costs at least $117. If people don't have jobs, people are not supposed to spend money. We know one thing, that don't go that way. But when people don't have jobs, people not supposed to spend money. If people don't spend money, then the Fed can then do what? They can bring down prices. The Fed in the meeting will always say this word, price stability. You will always hear the Federal Reserve say, we are here for price stability. The goal is to always make things affordable for the American consumer. You and I are the American consumer. Now, here's the hard part about that. The hard part about that is this. The only way they gauge that off of inflation being between 2% and 3%. But 2% is the goal, right? So anytime you see inflation, you'll always hear the Fed say, we have to get to that 2%, we have to get to that 2%, we have to get to that 2%. Here's what makes this really, 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 really hard. It's easier to go from 9% to about 5%. We can do that in chunks. We can do that by 75% rate hike, 0.75% rate hikes. We can do that by 0.5% rate hikes. What happens now is, because we're in that 5% range, every rate hike now puts the consumer in more of a strenuous position. It's kind of like this. You ever had a screw and you screwing it. When you first put it on, it's easy. You can then do it with your finger. It'll screw. But once you get closer to the washer, you need a little more wrist work. Now, every time it makes like, damn, that thing tight. It get tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter. Now what happens is the tighter they get, the more it impacts you and I as the consumer. Well, why, Trap? The closer we get to 2%, the harder it gets on us, because now we need more people to not be working, but we still need more people to pay the inflated prices. Why? Watch this. Because we still have to gauge the products moving in the economy so we can now find a common ground for price stability. Let's go a little further. The hard part about that is this. The 2% model is a model that existed pre-pandemic. I'm not an economist, but I do think 3% should be the new norm. I think 3% and 3.5% should be the new norm. Why? Because housing prices are now at a new norm. It now costs more to live in a house. The average rent right now is $2,000. What it costs now to build a house is higher. Materials are higher. Wood is higher. Sheetrock is higher. Roofing material. The cost is now higher. But watch this. Wages aren't increasing at the rate of cost. So in order to get that down to 2%, you now are putting you're putting an exhausted consumer in the more stressful financial predicament. God, we cooking.
What's good, trappers, man? It's your boy, the Wall Street Trapper. Right now, I want to invite you to an amazing experience full of value. That is my community, Trappers Anonymous. It's 100% the greatest fundamental investing community on the market. Listen, your portfolio should be a masterpiece. And the only way we get you there is if we help you to learn how to invest with confidence. Now listen, I get it. Like, you don't know a lot about stocks, or maybe you've heard people say how much money they lost in stocks, but I can guarantee you, one, because they weren't in the community, and two, they lack the information. Our goal in Trappers Anonymous is to help you, really to hold your hand on the journey to becoming a confident investor, learning how to navigate through the different events that the stock market goes through, to take you from panic to encouragement. There's no better time than now. This is an opportunity only for those who are willing to be on the journey. So listen, man, click the link below. Come join me in Trappers Anonymous, man. I will see you in one of our many classes, whether it's Moat Monday, whether it's the 2-hour class we do on Sunday, or whether it's just a book club. Everything is geared toward making you a better investor so you can triple your net worth and turn your last name to an asset. It's your boy, Wall Street Trapper. See you in the trap.
All right, so now, because we already said that the average consumer is now depleted 76% of their savings, we came out with a stat about 8 weeks ago that said 3/4 of the people who have a 401k have already taken out $20,000. That means the American consumer is already?
I'm in a bind, Nate.
Some other time.
So, to get that down to 2%, you're probably gonna need the unemployment rate to get to about 5 to 6%. That's tough. That's tough. So in my mind, instead of getting the unemployment rate to 5%, why not just set the new norm at 3 to 3.5% and let the American public now adjust to paying that? I would rather people pay more than not have no job at all. You feel me? I would rather people say, all right, gas a little high, but guess what? We gonna pay the gas anyway. Bread a little high, but I'm gonna pay the bread anyway, rather than saying gas high and I can't afford it. Because watch this, the biggest bill that the average American have is household bill, the rent, the house mortgage. If that's the biggest bill, and the next biggest bill after that is student loan debt for average American. So if housing and student loan debt is the two biggest bills that the average American pays, why do we want the average American now to lose the job, to not now be able to afford to live in America? That don't make no sense to me. It don't make no sense. And at the same time, watch this, Jose, at the same time, medical expenses have increased. A person who's retired, now, household, student loan, medical. That is now taking away 90 to 98% of the income. How do they survive in America? We need a new normal. Let the American people adjust to having 3% to 3.5% inflation, Let the banks now loan at a different rate and don't try to squeeze us to 2%. That's an old American standard. America has evolved. Watch this though. The US dollar, as of right now, is up 5%. The dollar has gotten stronger. The Chinese economy has gotten weaker. The American people can adjust. A stronger dollar means it's harder now to trade goods. Not harder, but it's gonna cost other countries more to trade goods in America. That's good for the American economy. I ain't the smartest, I ain't the brightest crayon in the thing. What's the thing that go in? The box. I'm not the brightest crayon in the box. I ain't nothing but a hustler from the streets of New Orleans, but I do know 1 + 1 = 2. That's what I know. And I know one thing. If it costs a little bit more for outsiders to come hustle in our hood, that means we got more profit in the hood. It costs a little more for you to hustle over here. You know why you want to hustle over here? Because we've trained the American people to do what? Spend money. We are trained to spend money. We are a consumer-based economy, bruh.